Hey guys, I want to share with you a little bit of a story. Now, some of you may find this story a little bit hard to believe, but I believe it, and that's what really matters. Now, as you may know, for the past 6 months, I've been on a little bit of a weight loss journey. And I want to share with you my most recent goal and a new motivation that is pushing me towards my end goal. See, my most recent goal was to reach 300 pounds. And if I did make it to 300 pounds by the time I left for camp that I was going to make a hike out to a very special location at this camp. A little bit of backstory. Now, every year for the past couple of years, I've been going to the Northern California Redwoods for a camp where 100 witches gather to not just work magic, but have a community space where people of like-mindedness can come together and actually be in a community that they don't have back in the uncivilized world. At least that's what I call it. There's this grandmother tree. It's believed to be the largest tree in this part of the Redwoods and probably the oldest tree as well. And there have been some people from the camp that have gone and made the hike to see this grandmother tree, and for them, it's been a wonderful experience. And I've been wanting to do this for quite some time. So my goal was, if I did reach the 300 pounds, I would make this hike. But as you may know from a couple of my previous videos, I injured my knee. And even if I made the 300 pounds, I don't think I would have been able to make it. But a few days into this camp, I was sitting in front of our dining hall, talking with a couple of my friends who I see once a year at this camp, catching up, and one of the other campers came up to me who had just been to the grandmother tree. Now, this camper I never really had a lot of interaction with, other than exchanging pleasantries and just, talking here and there. They didn't know that I was on a weight loss journey, other than seeing that I already shed 50 pounds and looked thinner than when I was there last year. So she came up to me and she handed me this. This may not look like much, but it is a piece of bark from the grandmother tree. As she handed me this, she said, I was getting ready to leave the grandmother tree and she stopped me. And she said, I want you to take a piece of my bark back to Jared. He'll know why. And she found that on the tree, she felt around and there was this loose piece of bark that literally came off in her hands. And she knew this was the piece that was meant for me. So she made the hike back into camp. She handed that to me and she told me what had just happened. As she told me this, my eyes started welling up. And I told her about the weight loss journey that I was on, and the goal that I had to go out to see the grandmother tree should I have met my goal. And it was that moment that I realized that the grandmother tree came to me. I wanted to make sure to keep this in a safe place. So I got up and I walked to my cabin. Before I got to my cabin, I stopped by this cluster of redwood trees, and I held on to this piece of bark in one hand and I laid my other hand on the tree. And I just sat there for a moment and I just said, thank you. And I heard in my ear, clear as day, without anybody around me, a wise, elderly voice say, I'll see you next year. And through tears in my eyes and the quivering in my voice, I said back, I'll see you next year. Like I said, you may not believe this story, but I know it to be true. And as crazy as it sounds, I have this new motivation that next year, I'm going to go see the grandmother tree. I'm going to lose the weight that I'm trying to lose. I'm going to get to a point where I have enough stamina to make the hike, and I'm going to keep that promise. As crazy as this sounds, it's all because there is an ancient redwood tree that believes in me.